Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a what's for dinner. I have several delicious savory fall type recipes for you. I hope you enjoy, and let's jump into the first recipe. So on this night I decided to make my version of white chicken chili. So you're just gonna need bone broth or chicken broth. Typically I do use chicken broth, but unfortunately all I had was the bone broth on hand. I like bone broth, but for this recipe, I just think the chicken broth tastes a little bit better. Next, you're gonna add in, you can add in 2 to 4 pieces of chicken. I just do 2 for our family. Next, I'm gonna add in my white beans. You can use any variation of white beans. I'm just gonna be using navy beans for this recipe, and I do rinse and drain them. Now that everything has cooked down a little bit, I am gonna go in and add some seasoning and my quote-unquote secret ingredient. So I'm just using a little bit of garlic salt here, and then I'm gonna be using this Goya, I'm gonna butcher this, risotto. It's basically just a cooking starter or soup starter, cooking base. It is so delicious, and it really steps up your white chicken chili game. Now, as you can see here, I'm just taking my little tool and shredding up that chicken. It does still need to cook down a little bit, but it is able to shred because it has cooked a little bit. And here is the final product. I did top with some sour cream, some cheddar cheese, and some cilantro. 10 out of 10 would recommend this recipe. So on the next night, I decided to make chicken egg rolls. I also made a little ramen situation, but I'm gonna leave that out because that recipe was not very good. But for your egg rolls, you're just gonna need some egg roll wraps. You're gonna need some coleslaw mix. I'm actually using both the angel hair and the tri-colored coleslaw mix. And then you're gonna take your egg roll wrap, you're gonna lay it down where the point is facing you. You're gonna put in your coleslaw, your ground chicken, which I am using ground chicken for this recipe, and I did season that ground chicken with garlic, onion powder, and ginger. And then I did top with a little dash of soy sauce. And then you're gonna see here, this is my first attempt of wrapping an egg roll. I think I did pretty darn good though. So I'm just taking the points and adding or touching them together and then rolling it over, kind of like a burrito, if you've ever rolled up a burrito. Very similar. Also, I do apologize for the lighting in this clip. I guess I forgot to turn my ring light on, but this is me just seasoning up the ramen, garlic, onion powder, and a little bit of soy sauce. Again, not recommended. Wasn't that great, but it was what it was. I did fry the egg rolls in a little bit of olive oil on each side till it was crispy, and these egg rolls were delicious. Definitely have made them multiple times again, and I highly recommend them. So the next night I decided to make creamy Italian soup. This recipe, you are gonna start out with some ground Italian sausage. I am using mild, but feel free to use the spicy. And then you're just gonna brown that up. Next, you are just going to dice up a half of an onion. I am using white onion, but I think this will be really good with like a yellow onion or even a red onion. It has a little bit more flavor, a little bit more kick. So now that your Italian sausage is cooked all the way through, you are going to prep your crock pot. So as always, I'm using a crock pot liner. You know, probably not the best for the environment, but it does sure save me on having to wash it. So sorry about that. But I'm just going to prep my crock pot. I'm going to first add in the onion. Then I'm going to go in and add a cup of milk. Next, I'm going to add in my drained Italian sausage. Then I'm going to add in a full package of chicken broth. And then I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of garlic, minced garlic. Next, I'm going to cube up half a block of cream cheese. I do not recommend using the whole block. I recommend using half, which is what you see me doing here. And then I decided to add in a slurry of cornstarch and water just to thicken up my soup a little bit. And then you're gonna cook this on low for 6 to 8 hours. Next, you're gonna go in and you're gonna add in 2 cans of sliced potatoes. You can definitely use like raw whole potatoes, but you're gonna wanna add them in with everything else in the beginning. The recipe that I'm using called for canned potatoes, so that is what I'm using. Next is one of my favorite parts of the soup is you're going to add in the kale. Now I added way more probably than the recipe called for. I think I ended up using 5 stalks. But you are gonna wanna add the canned potatoes and the kale about an hour before you're ready to serve. You don't wanna put those in there at the beginning of the recipe just because you don't want them to get too soggy. And I personally do like my kale and soup a little crisp. This soup reminds me a lot of the zuppa toscana from Olive Garden, so if you like that, you're definitely gonna like this. The only thing it's missing, I guess, is bacon, but it has the cream cheese in it, and it's a different flavor, but it's very similar. So if you like that, you'll definitely like this. So it has been a little over an hour and everything is ready to serve. And I'm just gonna bowl everything up and show you guys the finished product. This was such a tasty, savory, filling soup. I highly recommend it. I think I say I highly recommend most of the recipes that I make, but it's because they're delicious and I want to share it with you. So 10 out of 10 recommend this soup as well. Delicious. So on this night, I am gonna be making pretzel burgers. I just love the flavor of pretzel burgers. I mean, obviously it's very simple. It's just a regular burger with a pretzel bun, but the pretzel bun just brings out a different flavor to the burger, and it's just so complementary to one another. But first, what you're gonna do for this recipe is you're going to melt some butter in a pan. You're gonna patty up you're gonna use a pound of hamburger meat, so however many hamburgers you can get out of that, and you're gonna wanna pat them down very, very thin. So you almost want them to be like a melt type burger, if that makes sense. And then you're just gonna season these to your liking. So however you typically make a burger, I'm just gonna be adding onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of smoked paprika, and a couple of splashes of Worcestershire sauce. And then again, you're gonna cook the burgers down to your liking. I just made them well done since we were gonna serve them to Manny as well. And then you're gonna top with your favorite cheese. I highly recommend a cheddar cheese just because it complements the pretzel bun and the burger so well. And then you're going to butter your pretzel bun and pop it in the toaster oven, get it nice and toasty. Not too toasty though, because it does get kind of crispy. And then I did saute up some onions with a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. I'm gonna be topping the bun with some mayo and ketchup. I wish I had some like beer mustard or something. I bet that would be so tasty, but I'm gonna put those caramelized onions directly onto the pretzel bun and some on top of the burger. And you guys, this was so flavorful and so delicious. And I paired it with some French fries and a pickle, and this might be my favorite meal for this What's for Dinner. So the next night, I decided to make Frito Pie. I have a confession, I have never made Frito Pie, but you guys commented on my grocery haul and said I should make Frito Pie with my Fritos, so that's what I did. So you're just gonna start by browning up some ground beef. And then you're gonna drain that ground beef and you're gonna add in a tablespoon of minced garlic. And then you're going to dice up 1/4 of an onion. I did really thick chunks because I wanted it to be very thick chunks of onion in the Frito Pie. And then you're just gonna saute this up until the onion is a little bit translucent. Next, you're gonna add in your drained ground beef. You're also gonna add in a can of tomato sauce. I would recommend getting a bigger can, I think. This suited us fine for the recipe, but I think it would have been better if it was a little bit more liquidy or juicy. I don't know what the right word would be to use, but I had a small can of tomato sauce. That's what the recipe called for, but after further inspection, I guess I would probably use a larger can. And then you're gonna add in a tablespoon of chili powder. And then you're gonna go in and add a can of Rotel. Again, I wish I would have used half the can. It was a little too much on the tomato situation, but it turned out very good. And then you're gonna add in a tablespoon of taco seasoning. And honestly, I probably, next time I make this, I'm gonna, put my own little tweak on it like I always do, but I think I would add a couple of tablespoons of each of the seasonings, the chili powder and the taco seasoning, just to make it really flavorful. Like, it had decent flavor, but I like a lot of flavor in my dinners, and I think it just needed a little bit more seasoning. So you're gonna combine all of these ingredients together, and then you're just gonna kind of let it simmer for a little bit. You're also gonna wanna preheat your oven to 375. You're gonna take a baking dish and you're going to pile in those Fritos in the bottom of the dish. You wanna make sure you have a nice even layer on the bottom. And then you're just going to scoop that meat mixture into the Frito, or onto the Fritos, and just flatten everything out so everything is covered. And then I'm gonna add some cheddar cheese on top. I just have like some sharp cheddar cheese, but probably any cheese would be good on there. And then of course I had to sprinkle a little bit of garlic salt, and I went ahead and sprinkled some chives that I had a little bit left. I just sprinkled those right on top as well. And then I popped this in the oven for about 20 minutes on 375. And then at the very end, I did put it on broil for like a minute just to kind of crisp up that cheese a little bit, because I do like for the edges of my cheese on casseroles to be kind of crispy. So here is the Frito pie all plated up. I did top with some sour cream and some more Fritos, but this recipe was very delicious. I just want to thank you guys so much for hanging out and for watching today. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for being my kind of weird. Bye!